I've been asked to reflect on the challenges that we've been trying to bear down over the last couple of years, where I think we've had a similar crisis of trust in the UK. I have 4 messages for you which I'm going to run through. The first is how not to respond. The second is you've got to tell the world charity is changing. The third is you have to explain what modern charity is. And the fourth is that you've got to tell the world that it is changed by charities. So, how not to respond. So from our learning, don't shoot the messenger. So when the journalists are coming along and they're uncovering this stuff, don't blame the newspapers for reporting bad stuff about charities. Actually welcome it. They're finding out bad stuff on your behalf and enabling you to root it out. And then secondly, don't rely on the we save animals and children sort of type arguments. Doing good is not good enough anymore. In a world where the boundaries between sectors have blurred, the private sector or indeed government are waiting there in the wings to say that we can do social change as well. And then the third, and I think this sort of comes from Tim's data a bit, I think it's very easy to slip into the idea that, well, there isn't a relationship between the level of trust and actual public support in terms of charitable donations. You're going to come to a point soon where trust levels start to recover and you think you don't need to do anything anymore. That's the most dangerous point. And I think we're sort of at that point now in England. So that's how not to respond. Secondly, once the crisis hits, think of yourselves a bit like BP a few years ago. If anybody remembers the Event Horizon situation in the Gulf of Mexico. So as a sector, you have oil gushing from the sea floor. So what do? Do you go out and tell the world, we save animals, we help children, don't worry about the fact that we're killing millions of seabirds at the moment, or do you cap the well? I think you've got to cap the well, except that you don't have one well, you have a number of different wells called governance, called fundraising, called senior salaries, called transparency. And in each of those, over the last few years, individually, we've tried to take them all on a case-by-case basis and address the issues that the public are actually concerned about. Because trust is quite a nebulous concept. You've got to get beneath trust and address the issues that are driving that fall in trust. So we've had a review of governance across the sector, and we have a new code of good governance that isn't actually based on rules, it's based on principles and values. We did an inquiry into fundraising and we set up a new self-regulator. We produced advice for trustee boards on setting CEO pay, and we're trying to do something about transparency to improve levels of transparency. Next, you need to explain modern charity. Okay? I think one of the biggest problems that we have is that people have a very outdated Victorian idea of what charities are. It's just about giving and volunteering. We don't pay staff. We don't deliver contracts for government. And we've perpetuated that because it suits us, because it helps us raise money. We've got to do something about that, and we've got to explain what modern charity looks like. And as I think some of the panel have said already, we on the panel, Deirdre, you at the wheel, we have got to help you to have a conversation about the charity sector. So the next time you're at a wedding, when you're confronted by your brother-in-law and you have to explain that you're paid and you work in the sector, you've got an elevator pitch that's an answer. Because actually, I don't think you've got that at the moment. I don't think we have those really simple answers that say, yeah, actually, I'm paid. Or yeah, actually, my charity does have admin costs. So we've got to deal with this sort of disjuncture in sort of the public's understanding of what the sector is. We've got a couple of examples that we can show you. Look for a website called howcharitieswork.com, and that's meant to be a very simple explanation. So then you do that stuff. You actually affect real change in the way that Sarah has just talked about. And it's only then that you can then have a conversation with the public and say, actually, we changed the world. The world is changed by charity, okay? And the way that we think that you've got to do that is not just say, we are good and we do good things. We think you've got to make the link between the solutions that you provide and the problems that people experience and see everywhere in their lives and that they see reported in the media. some of you might be aware there is a global movement at the moment called solutions-focused journalism, because the newspaper industry is in serious trouble at the moment. And one of the reasons is that people are sick of reading just terrible events and bad news all the time. And some journalists are trying to balance that with stories about solutions to the problems that they're reporting on. This room will be full of solutions, so go out and tell the stories of the difference that you're making. But even better, the people, your volunteers, the people who give to you, give them the ammunition so that they can tell the stories. Again, as Sarah said, no one's going to believe me if I go out and tell the world that it's changed by charity, but they might believe some of the people who volunteer for me, because people will think that they have a different motivation, and indeed they may well do. So, don't respond by shooting the messenger. Change what your charities are doing. Address all the underlying issues. Tell the world what modern charity is, and then after that, go out and celebrate the stories of how the world is changed by charity.